Hello guys, today we're looking at accounting paper 2 that was written in November 2023, and we're going to focus on the creditors reconciliation which relates to SEB traders for August 2023. So the first required, taking into account the errors and omissions, calculate the correct balance for the creditors control account and the creditors list. We also need to indicate the changes with plus for an increase and a minus for a decrease. Then the second one, this company intend to settle the account of Puto wholesalers on the 31st of August 2023, and we need to calculate the amount due to them. So given information A, which shows us the balances and totals on the 31st of August 2023 before correcting the errors and omissions. Then information B, these are then the errors or omissions that we need to take into account and correct. So the first one says the total of the creditors allowances journal was understated by 3,600. So here they're telling us about the CAJ, but in information A, we're only given the balances of the creditors control account and the creditors list total in the creditors ledger. Okay, so we need to take note of these different accounts that we are going to have records in. So going back to the first one, we have the CAJ, which was understated by 3,600. So the CAJ is where we record the returns to suppliers. So these are goods that we return to suppliers and we are no longer interested in them. It could either be damaged goods or goods that we no longer want to have in our disposal. So we understated the CAJ by 3.6k, which means that we now owe them less, but we have actually understated that. So we need to decrease what we owe them on our creditors control. Okay, so this is not specifically linked to any creditor, so we're going to have 0 here, and then we're going to minus that 3,600 on our creditors control. And then on the second adjustment, a payment of 14,250 made to Puto wholesalers was in error, posted as 15,240 to the creditors ledger account. Now posting to the general ledger account was correct. So the 15,240 in the general ledger was correct, which is where we post to the creditors control account in the general ledger. And then the payment of 14,250 to Puto wholesalers, this is where we had the creditors list. Then this is where we have the creditors control. Let's just have the creditors control here. Was incorrect. So we need to account for the difference between these two. So we're going to take the 15,240 and then we're going to subtract the 14,250. Okay, and then now the difference for that is 990. Right, so we're going to take the 990 and add it to the creditors list, and then we have no adjustment on the creditors control because that amount was correct there. Then the third one is going to be a bit tricky because it is actually a trick question. Because now when we read, it says an invoice received from Planet Supplies 9,540 and recorded in the creditors journal. Right, so it was recorded in the CJ, was posted in error to the account of Puto wholesalers in the creditors ledger. Okay, so here they're telling us about the creditors ledger, and then here they're telling us about the creditors journal. They're not mentioning anything about the creditors list. So remember that they said here the creditors list total in the creditors ledger. Okay, so what we would need to do, we would then need to make the correction on the creditors ledger, because now what would need to happen in this case is us moving these or this amount of 9,540 among these accounts. Okay, or let me just talk about the affected accounts. Now remember that the amount of 9,540 is already accounted in this total and also in this total. So it is correct, the totals do match. It's just that we have recorded it to the incorrect creditor. So there wouldn't really be a need here to actually adjust for these amounts because there's actually nothing correct with the totals. It's just that we have allocated this amount to the incorrect creditor. Okay, so then for the third one, we would not have any adjustments. And then for the fourth one says goods returned to Mish dealers 7,500 and recorded in the CHA. Okay, so this is recorded in the CHA 7,500 was posted to their account in the creditors ledger as an invoice. So we posted this as an invoice. We know that this is a return and two things have to happen here. The first thing is that we have to make a correction. Okay, so when we make a correction, we know that we are going to take away the 7,500, and then the second thing that we have to do is make I know these two sound like the same, but they're not necessarily the same. So in the second one, we are going to make the correct entry. Okay, also again here we're going to take away the 7,500 because we have then returned these goods. So we're going to take 7.5, and then if we are going to add those two, will give us 15,000. Okay, so we're going to take away the negative 15,000 this side, and then on the side we have no adjustment because the error was made on the creditors list. Okay, because they said the creditors ledger as an invoice. Remember that the creditors ledger goes hand in hand with the creditors list. Okay, then the last one says SEB traders recorded a purchase of 13,280 from aerial suppliers in the CJ after deducting a trade discount of 20%. Okay, so we know that this is 13,280 after deducting a 20% discount. So we know that the 13,280 is the 80%, right? However, aerial suppliers informed them that the trade discount agreed on was only 10%. So we actually need the difference between what we were supposed to pay, which was the 90%, since the discount was only 10%. But we have recorded what we owe them as at 13,280. So now let's determine what the 90% should have been. So now we know that the 13,280 multiplied by the 90, what we want, over what we know. So let's quickly see if this will work. So that then is 14,940. So this is what we owe them, but we have recorded the purchase at 13,280. So what we're going to do, we're going to take the 14,940 minus 13,280. Okay, we are accounting for the difference between those two amounts. Minus 13,280, that's then 1,660. So we're going to increase what we owe them by 1,660. Now remember that this affects both our creditors control and the creditors list because this was recorded in error in both accounts. Okay, so we're just going to quickly determine what we have as a total on the creditors control. So that's 175,940 minus 3,600 plus 1,660, and then that's 174,000. And then on the other hand, 186,350 plus 990 minus 15,000 plus 1,660. So that's 174. Okay. And then 1.2.2 says SEB traders intend settling the account of Puto wholesalers on the 31st of August, and we need to calculate the amount due to them. So remember the adjustments that were linked to Puto wholesalers, which is this one here, and I cannot see any other. Okay, so we are just going to have the balance that we're given of 64,950. Okay, so there's actually this one on the third one where we didn't have any adjustment. So it says An invoice received from Planet Suppliers 9,540 and recorded in the Creditors journal was posted in error to the account of Puto Wholesalers. Remember what we did there? We said Puto Wholesalers owes us 950 more, 9540 more, but it is actually an invoice that was received from Planet Suppliers. So we are saying what we've done, we added the 995.40 to Puto Wholesaler, saying that we owe them more, but we necessarily don't owe them more. So this is where this adjustment is coming in. Okay, so we're going to take this 95.40, we're subtracting it from what we owe to Puto's wholesalers, and then we are going to add the 990 there. Okay, so now let's get what we owe them. Minus 95.40 plus 990, then that is 56,400. Great. I really hope that was helpful. Thank you so much for joining me as I was going through this question. Do not forget to subscribe, drop a comment, share with anyone who might need help with accounting. I'll see you in the next video. Cheers.